You're listening to the Spirit Podcast.
Welcome back, dear listeners of the weird and watchers of the strange. You're listening to the Spirit, the only show where we question reality, debate the unexplainable, and occasionally argue over whether birds are actually CIA drones. I'm your host, Beck, and as always, I'm joined by my co-counsel in cosmic weirdness, the one and only Rachel.
Hello, and I've brought all the weird with me today.
I'm looking forward to this.
Me too.
But today, court is in session because joining us is our friend, Skeptic, and today's honorary judge, Peter.
Welcome to my court.
He's here to preside over one of the strangest courtrooms in podcast history. In today's special conspiracy court,
Order in the court.
Debunked or Deep Truth. Rachel and I will present our best evidence and oddball theories, while Judge Peter will decide whether each case is certifiably bunk or suspiciously legit. We've got wild testimony, we've got questionable documents, and we've got a verdict for every theory. Let the court of conspiracy commence.
This is our first case. Birds aren't real. Go ahead and make your opening statement, please.
Your Honor, esteemed citizens of the tinfoil jury, I present a case so feather-ruffling it might just mulch your mind. The viral theory that birds are not real. That's right, avian espionage. Beaks with batteries, feathers with firmware. Now, I know what you're thinking. Surely a robin isn't running recon. But have you ever watched a pigeon not blink for 30 straight minutes while squatting on a power line like it's a Pentagon's watchtower? I rest my binoculars. And the kicker? Some of these birds have allegedly malfunctioned in public. As in screen freeze, wings up, buffering bird mode. Exhibit A. Surveillance drones modeled after birds. They exist. Which means someone thought, you know what the Air Force is missing? Parakeets. Exhibit B. The joke's website popularity? A little too viral if you ask me. That's how they hide things now, by laughing in your face. That's my evidence.
Beck, I'm curious. When you talk about birds being drones, are you talking about all birds?
That's just crazy, Your Honor. No. Not all birds, but quite a lot of them. I presented evidence.
You presented evidence showing some birds acting weird. My issue here is that when you say birds aren't real, that's the case, that birds aren't real. So you're saying some birds, and honestly, Beck, a very small percentage of birds aren't real, correct?
A percentage of birds, that's correct.
What would you put that percentage as?
Well, Your Honor, it's a conspiracy theory, and I'm not quite exactly sure. But
Beck, I'm ready right now to throw out this case because this is nonsense.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm a Southern judge, which means I'm no nonsense. And this sounds to me like a lot of nonsense. I will tell you that birds, because God, our Lord Almighty, provided a creature that he deemed fit to fly, and we as humans saw that, and we took that design and we mirrored it so that we could touch the sky as well. So birds influenced us. I don't think we influenced birds.
how did the judge go Southern?
The judge went Southern because I'm a no-nonsense judge. And again, Miss Beck, this seems like nonsense. I say birds are real.
Are you seriously suggesting that woodpeckers are not solar powered? Only if you believe the beak is just a beak, Peter. What if it's a vibrational scanner? You've seen them go at trees like they're mining data, not looking for bugs. Woodpeckers are nature's USB drives. What about the birds that poop on the cars? You probably think, why would surveillance drones do that? Well, that's a classic misdirection tactic, Peter. You think they get away with spying if they didn't occasionally bomb a windshield? That's just firmware update leakage.
First of all, I think counsel is way too familiar with the court. It's Judge Peter.
I'm sorry,
And I
Your
would
Honor. I'm sorry.
All right, that's number one. Number two, I've seen the insides of a woodpecker personally through Google. All right, with the tongue wraps around the brain because it does that pack, 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 and so it doesn't get concussed. All right, I think a lot of our football players could appreciate that if the tongue wrapped around the brain to protect concussions. But that's a whole nother story. What I'm saying is that birds are real, and you, my friend, might need some counseling. Our second case is Denver International Airport. Go ahead and open your case.
Your Honor, the Denver airport isn't just a place for long layovers and overpriced trail mix. As it's been described by Jesse Ventura in Conspiracy Theory, it's an Illuminati-coded hub of strange art, underground tunnels, and apocalyptic horse statues with glowing eyes. For example, Your Honor, the creepy artwork. There are murals inside of the airport that depict apocalyptic and dystopian scenes. One famously shows a gas-masked soldier burning cities and weeping children. I don't know about you, but that is not the kind of art I want to see when I'm about to be taken up into the sky. My next piece of evidence is the New World Airport Commission. What is the deal? Mentioned on the capstone, the airport's Freemason capstone, dated March 19th, 1994, credits New World Airport Commission for the airport's construction. Now, it doesn't exist. There's no official record of this organization ever existing. No website, no history, no contact info. People have searched for years with no luck. And the name feels suspicious. The name sounds eerily close to New World Order, a popular conspiracy theory term for an alleged secretive global elite aiming to control the world. And the airport's explanation? DIA has claimed that it was simply a temporary name for a group of local businesses and art organizations that helped plan the opening. But no one can find any official documentation to back that up. And even more fuel for this is the vague and ominous name combined with the Freemason symbol on the plaque has convinced many that the airport is linked to secret societies or global control agendas. Now, don't even get me started on Lucifer, the demon horse. A 32-foot tall blue Mustang sculpture with glowing red eyes that killed its creator when a piece of it fell on him. It became an ominous symbol of the airport. And finally, Your Honor, let's just talk about these underground tunnels of the Denver airport. There are miles of tunnels underneath the airport, sparking theories of secret bunkers, Illuminati headquarters, or even reptilian hideouts. Like, are we really just moving the luggage down there? I don't think so, Your Honor. I rest my case.
Well, you've provided a lot of evidence. I don't know if this is the same accent I was doing, but here's what's happening. Let's take it one by one, Miss Raquel. Rachel, what's your name?
Your Honor, Rachel will do.
Rachel. All right. So first, you say that there is a 32-foot statue of a horse?
Named Lucifer, Your Honor.
Do you know why we have a 32-foot horse statue, Miss Rachel? It's because the government doesn't want to pay for an airport, so we depend on independent investors, and some of those investors own horses. So the horse is just to show respect to our investors for the airport that millions of Americans fly through every week.
With
You
red
also
eyes,
mentioned-
Your Honor?
A red eye, listen, color is subjective. For you, it's red. For me, it's peach. It really depends on the eyes looking at it. All right. And as for those tunnels, did I mention, Miss Rachel, that millions of Americans fly through that airport a week? Where would you put all that luggage? It's like trash. You put it underground so good American people don't have to see it.
Your Honor, I didn't even hit on the topic that Robin Williams' soul is trapped in a gargoyle.
No, you didn't. But you did mention Freemasons like 6 times. Miss Rachel, is this a Nicolas Cage movie? Miss Rachel, do you think that the Declaration of Independence is buried underneath the Denver airport?
Your Honor, there is symbolism riddled throughout that whole airport.
Miss Rachel, symbolism is an interesting topic, isn't it? What that symbol means to you doesn't necessarily mean it means the same thing to somebody else. Art is art, Miss Rachel. And just because you see art a certain way, seemingly satanic, doesn't mean it's actually satanic.
And what about the murals, Your Honor? Don't you find that ominous and haunting?
Miss Rachel, the murals, the painted murals, I would tell you to re-listen to Art is Art. And just because it means something to you as an individual doesn't mean it's got some cotton-picking meaning beyond anything. Art is just, it's supposed to make you feel. You feel a certain way, but your neighbor, you know, next door, the swingers that you don't talk to, when they fly through the Denver airport, they see something different. And let's not forget that your lead statement mentioned Jesse Ventura. Do you want me to really talk to you about former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura, who now lives in Mexico because he's so brain-addled he doesn't believe in this great United States of America where you're in court right now?
He was also Jesse the Body Ventura in WWE. Let's not forget that, Your Honor.
Miss Rachel, you want me to look at your lead witness as a former WWE, formerly WWF wrestler? Madam, I would suggest, as the previous case, that you seek counseling because I think you are in need of some very deep introspective research. I'm ready to hear the next case.
You know, the Denver airport is filled with thermite, and I know that because I was governor of Minnesota, and then I moved to Mexico.
That was really good.
That was really...
That's how I learned about it.
Oh, I bet you did.
Silence in the court.
Our next case is the Mandela Effect. Go ahead and proceed with your opening statement.
Ladies and gentlemen of the conspiracy court, have you ever sworn you remembered something one way, only to be told you're wrong by everyone, Google, and even your own mom? Welcome to the Mandela Effect. It's not just misremembering, it's like reality hit shuffle. You're telling me it was always Berenstain and not Berenstein? That's not a memory error, Your Honor. That's interdimensional gaslighting. We've got people quoting Luke, I am your father, only to be told it was no, I am your father. Really? So now we're rewriting Star Wars canon too. What's next? Darth Vader moonwalking? Your Honor, I have Exhibit A. Famous examples such as Monopoly Man's missing monocle, Luke, I am your father, etc., etc. CERN's been smashing atoms like it's in a rave in Geneva. Who's to say they didn't accidentally knock us into the wrong timeline, Your Honor? And online forums filled with consistent false memories. I rest my case.
Miss Beck, here's the deal. This is a tough one for me. Nelson Mandela died in the 1980s. That is misremembering. The Monopoly Man's missing monocle, I agree. People have confused the Monopoly Man with the Planter's Peanut. The Planter's Peanut has a monocle. The Monopoly Man does not have a monocle. Luke, I Am Your Father is right up there with That Escalated Quickly. As people who are familiar with Anchorman know, that's not the actual line, but it's become a part of the social zeitgeist. But that doesn't mean it's real, Miss Beck.
May I just say, Your Honor, you say that we're all just misremembering things, that's human error, but human error doesn't explain millions of people remembering the same wrong thing, Judge Peter. That's not forgetfulness. That's a software rollback in the simulation. Somebody hit Control Z on reality.
Miss Beck, you talk about millions of people, which may have meant more 100 years ago. Do you know the population of this here planet is nearing, if not exceeding, 8 billion people? Millions are the hundreds of thousands of ago. So yes, Miss Beck, I am saying that millions of people are misremembering. That said, this judge in this court on this day was a child once, and this child judge remembers Berenstain Bears. There weren't no Berenstain Bears. That's some hooky, as we say in the South. So as for interdimensional gaslighting, this judge believes it was Berenstain Bears, and that ain't because I'm a Jew. That's because that's what it was. So in the case of the Mandela Effect, this judge agrees with the prosecution. Case 4. The moon landing was faked.
Your Honor, 1969 may have marked one small step for man, but some say it was one big leap for Stanley Kubrick. Your Honor, the moon landing is not real. Let's just say it. It wasn't real. It was staged. It was fake. And here is the evidence to prove it. First of all, let's talk about the American flag that appears to flutter or wave, especially when astronauts are holding it. Well, since the moon has no atmosphere and therefore no wind, critics argue that the movement proves the scene was staged, likely filmed on Earth in a studio with airflow. And then let's talk about the perfectly lit photos. No lights, no problem. The moon landing photos are crystal clear with well-lit astronauts and equipment. Even when they're in deep shadow? Come on. Skeptics argue it would be impossible to get such an evenly lit professional quality images without artificial lighting, like you'd use on a movie set, for instance. They claim the light sources look too controlled and directional, suggesting studio floodlights were used. Light sources also came from different directions, proving that it was studio lighting. And NASA allegedly lost or recorded over the original high-quality telemetry data and video footage of the Apollo 11 moon landing. How convenient. Skeptics ask, how could humanity's greatest achievement just go missing? It sounds like someone is hiding something to me. They believe the tapes might have shown evidence of fakery, flaws in the footage, simply never existed. Also, theorists believe that Stanley Kubrick directed a fake version of the moon landing for NASA, and that he secretly confessed this in his 1980 film, The Shining. The idea is Kubrick, obsessed with symbolism and subtext, encoded hidden clues throughout the movie as a form of guilt or whistleblowing. Let's point out in the movie The Shining, Danny's sweater. The most famous clue, little Danny Torrance wears a knitted Apollo 11 sweater when he enters the haunted room 237. Adding to that, room 237, the room number was changed from the novel's room 217 to 237, which conspiracy theorists claim references the 237,000 miles from Earth to the moon, which is the average distance. Now let's talk about the carpet pattern. The hallway carpet Danny plays on resembles NASA launch pad layouts, especially when viewed from above. And then as Danny rises from the carpet in the Apollo sweater, it's said to symbolize a rocket launch. And then Jack Torrance's descent into madness is believed to mirror Kubrick's own mental and moral struggle, allegedly forcing into secrecy and psychological torment after faking the moon landing. All work, no play? May be a reference to soul-crushing labor of secrecy and deception. And some theorists say the Overlook Hotel is a metaphor for America itself, haunted by its dark past and buried secrets. I rest my case.
Miss Rachel, you've provided this court with a lot of circumstantial evidence that I can tell you spent a lot of time sourcing and presenting to this court. Unfortunately for you, this judge has a best friend that is of the female specimen. All right. Men and women can be friends. We talk about boys and other things. But that's not of consequence. My best friend was dating a man who said the moon landing was faked. And we had a conversation essentially saying where I said I believed the moon landing was real, but I couldn't actually justify why that was. So I went and I looked and I did the research. And do you know what I found, Miss Rachel?
What did you find, Your Honor?
Miss Rachel, I think the most damning evidence is the why. Why would the moon landing be faked? Do you know the answer to that?
Why didn't we ever go back to the moon is the real question.
It's not about why we didn't go back. We said, quote unquote, that we went to the moon so that we could show up Russia, that the United States was able to get to the moon before Russia got to the moon during the Cold War. The thing about it, besides all the evidence, all the imaginative reasons why it was faked, that really pushed me to believe that the moon landing was real, was that we would have done it just to show up the Russians, and the Russians reported that our moon landing was real.
Your Honor, did we have colored television in 1969?
Miss Rachel, I was born in 1984. I can't tell you when we actually had colored television.
Your Honor.
I know some of the shows at Nick at Night for the old millennials, some were black and white and some were color, but I don't know the year.
Your Honor, how did we communicate in 1969 long distance?
Miss Rachel, I will tell you right now, this court is under the impression that the United States claimed they landed on the moon to show up Russia during the Cold War, and Russia said, yeah, the United States did it. If you can give me a reason to believe why Russia would lie, I will side in your favor.
They set it up to prove that we had the technology, where in fact we did not have the technology.
But
we didn't even have
Russia. Miss Rachel, then
Your
why
Honor,
would our
with
enemy...
respect, Your Honor, we did not have colored television. We didn't even have cell phones. We didn't have Bluetooth. We didn't have any of that technology. But you're telling me that people went up to the moon and they just talked to us from Earth? Are you kidding me? We didn't. We probably barely had birth control at that time. You're telling me they could talk to us on live?
Birth control is anti-Jesus, first of all.
On live television. They had the technology. Give me a break.
Miss Rachel, I need you to tell me why our at the time enemy would confirm that we done bested them if it wasn't real.
They researched the type of metal that was on that rocket and what type of heat that it actually could withstand. And in fact, it cannot withstand the temperature of the atmospheric heat that it would have to go through. In reality, that rocket would have disintegrated.
I understand what you're saying. You're telling me everything but this court wants to hear. If you can tell me a logical reason why our enemy, the whole purpose for why we said we landed on the moon, would agree with it, I will find you in favor.
It's
but you're
public,
not doing that.
It's public control and manipulation.
So you're saying that our enemy wasn't our enemy, but a patsy for our goals.
They're all in it together.
Can you prove it with any of your research?
If it was a way to make money, to have war, to have crisis, they're all in it together to cause chaos and to get money.
So you're saying that the United States and Russia said that we will both benefit if our countries are at war, so we need you to be on our side and say that we did do it, but that wouldn't cause no conflict. It'd be more of a conflict if Russia said, hey, them in the U.S. ain't telling the truth. They faked it. They used one of them Hollywood directors to do it.
There was deeper meaning behind it, Your Honor.
Miss Rachel, I'll give you one more chance. If you can explain to me why our enemy at the time, depending on when you hear this podcast, why Russia would side with us at the beginning of the Cold War and acknowledge that the United States of America, our God-fearing selves, landed and planted our flag on the moon, while they'd agree with it when it was incorrect. I will agree with you today.
Your Honor, I don't understand the corruption of the high and mighty, wealthy leaders of the world, but if you can explain to me how a metal that cannot go through the heat of the atmosphere made it to the moon and there was magic technology that live streamed to the Earth in 1969, be my guest, Your Honor. I rest my case.
You can rest your case. Unfortunately, you did not give me the information I wanted. I feel like it's a misstep that 9/11 wasn't on this list. If you want to talk about shit burning, but in this case, this court finds that the moon landing was legit.
You know, the education in the South is inferior to the Northern education.
Listen.
Just saying.
Just because my daddy was a judge don't mean that I don't deserve to be one.
Hey, Spirit Seekers, enjoying the show? Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the Spirit. Leave us a review on Apple or Spotify and share the love. We drop a new video every week on our YouTube channel covering paranormal, conspiracy, high strangeness, and more. Have questions or want to share your own spooky story? Drop us a line at tothespiritpod@gmail.com. Stay spirited.
Our next case is Paul McCartney, died in 1966. Go ahead with your opening statement.
Your Honor, Abbey Road wasn't just an album cover. It was a crime scene in plain sight. The barefoot Paul, clearly a corpse. The license plate that reads 28IF, as in he would have been 28 if he lived. That's not subtle. That's Illuminati Morse code. They said Paul died in 1966 and was replaced by Billy Shears, which sounds like a guy who trims hedges and sings backup, but apparently also wins global fame. And if you play Revolution 9 backwards, you allegedly hear, "Turn me on, dead man," which honestly sounds like half of TikTok these days, but still. Exhibit A, Your Honor. Hidden messages and song lyrics. I Buried Paul. Album cover symbolism. Barefoot Paul equals corpse. The facial differences. Forget fillers. That's a whole new man, Your Honor. Call the Fab Four what they are now. The Beatles featuring guest star, not Paul. The fall theory, gaining traction even in recent documentaries. Your Honor, I had enough here to just bury this whole case.
Miss Beck, can you offer me a cause of death?
Yes, he was killed in a car accident.
Can you offer me a cause of death that you can prove?
No, I can't prove it, Your Honor, but we all know that he died in a car accident.
Miss Beck, this court believes that you are the victim of a generational conspiracy. You're a bit older. Are you familiar with the artist known as Avril Lavigne?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Are you familiar with the Avril Lavigne conspiracy?
I am, Your Honor.
And would you say that the Avril Lavigne conspiracy is quite similar to the Paul McCartney conspiracy?
I would say no, it's a very different conspiracy, because Avril Lavigne was either cloned or is a robot now, whereas Paul, or Fall, was actually recruited by the Queen herself, because Billy Shears looks so much like Paul, and she didn't want mass hysteria, so they did a little bit of this and a little bit of that on his face just to make it. You can tell, Your Honor, the eyes are different colors, but he looks like him. He looks close to him, but he is no Paul.
Miss Beck, what I'm hearing right now, it sounds like a fan of early Beatles music that didn't like when they split up and Paul went his own way.
Your Honor, people grieved and looked for signs that weren't there. But they buried him in plain sight and handed us a shovel made of vinyl. These weren't clues, these were confessions wrapped in harmonies. And
Miss Beck, you listening to records backwards while on LSD is not evidence for this court. Let me just point out that Sir Paul McCartney, whilst not a pure blood American, is a big part of American zeitgeist, if you will, because the Paul McCartney era and the Beatles era stands pretty strong. I think that you're not appreciating what a little bit of plastic surgery and a new voice does to a musician.
yeah, but it was his entire skull shape that changed, Your Honor. What was he doing, Pilates for his cheekbones?
Can you prove to me his skull shape is differently? Sir Paul is still alive, and last I knew, no one's done any dagnam tests on his skull size.
Your Honor, I just say pull up the internet, the good old Googles, and just take a look at the old Paul McCartney and the later aged Paul McCartney, and you tell me yourself, Your Honor. If you don't see that difference, I will rest my case.
First of all, despite my southern accent, this court recognized that Sir Paul has been to my hometown, and he's a great man.
That was fall, Your Honor. That was fall.
Secondly, Miss Beck, I'm afraid to tell you that Sir Paul not only did not die, but was able to sustain a career as a solo artist despite splitting with the Beatles. Now, maybe he had some plastic surgery. It happens. But this court deems that Sir Paul McCartney is not only still alive, but still alive and crushing it.
Very well, Your Honor.
Case dismissed. Y'all done got me knocking over my knickknacks and whatnot.
Not the knickknacks.
Case 6, Area 51 and the Roswell incident.
We can't have a conspiracy court without addressing the cornerstone case. Area 51. Is it simply a testing site or the warehouse for extraterrestrial leftovers? Exhibit A. In July 1947, a rancher near Roswell, New Mexico, found strange metallic debris unlike anything he'd seen before. The U.S. military claimed it was a flying disc, but quickly reversed their story, saying it was just a weather balloon. Kind of sounds like things that are going on today, wouldn't you say, Your Honor? Decades later, the Air Force said it was part of Project Mogul, a secret program using high-altitude balloons to spy on Soviet nukes. Witnesses later described unburnable metal, strange symbols, and even small alien bodies, though the government claimed they were just test dummies from a different decade. Many believe the wreckage and possibly alien tech was quietly moved to Area 51 for a study in reverse engineering. The flip-flopping stories and secrecy only fueled suspicions of massive cover-up. Exhibit B. In 1989, Bob Lazar came forward claiming that he worked at a secret site near Area 51 called S4. There, he saw an alien spacecraft and worked on reverse engineering their advanced technology, including gravity propulsion systems. Lazar described 9 flying saucers stored underground and claimed that the craft used a rare element called element 115 to power their engines. His story sparked huge public interest, but is controversial. Many question his credentials and evidence. But despite skepticism, Lazar's testimony remains one of the most famous in Area 51 lore. And Exhibit C. For decades, the U.S. government denied Area 51 even existed, fueling mystery and conspiracy theories. It wasn't until 2013 that the CIA officially acknowledged Area 51 in declassified documents. The site was revealed as a testing ground for spy planes and classified aircraft, but secrecy remains tight. The long denial only added to the suspicion about what really goes on there. My final exhibit, the storm on Area 51, where the internet goes wild. In 2019, a viral Facebook event called Storm Area 51, They Can't Stop All of Us, invited people to raid the secret base. It started as a joke, but quickly gained millions of responses worldwide. The event sparked real gatherings near Area 51, but ended peacefully with no break-ins. But it showed how Area 51 remains a powerful symbol in UFO culture and internet memes. I rest my case.
Miss Rachel, you've been before this court before with nonsense claims and conspiracy theories. And this court normally would look at you and say you're wasting your time and, more importantly, the court's time. However, according to Google, the Pentagon and the U.S. government in general maintains an official stance that does not confirm or acknowledge Bob Lazar's claims regarding reverse engineering alien technology at Area 51. That said, this court is not in a position to tell you you are wrong. This court, therefore, must follow the United States of America and the Pentagon and say, we don't know.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And our final case, Project MKUltra, and it never really ended, allegedly.
Your Honor, if you think MKUltra ended in the 70s, I've got some subliminal messages to sell you. This wasn't just a bad idea with acid. The CIA was out here playing Inception decades before DiCaprio spun a top. And now, You want me to believe they just closed the program and walked away? Come on. LSD mind experiments, triggered assassins, targeted individuals who swear their coffee maker is listening. The only thing that ended was the paper trail. My exhibits, Your Honor. Declassified documents proving LSD mind experiments. Connection to infamous cases Unabomber, Sirhan, alleged extensions into media programming and targeted individuals. Questions around mass shooters and unexplained personality shifts. Ever scrolled social media and suddenly wanted to buy a $400 water bottle after seeing it once? That's not coincidence, Your Honor. That's MKUltra 2.0, now with algorithms.
Miss Beck, this court is part of the United States of America government, allowing you to exercise your constitutional rights to bring things to trial. That Constitution is very clear that the FBI deals with domestic concerns and the CIA deals with concerns outside of the country. At this moment, unless you have further evidence, this court wants to dismiss this case because the CIA does not do anything on American soil.
You're saying we're living in a society where people live stream themselves eating soap for likes. That's not evolution. That's programming.
That's capitalism, Miss Beck.
The line between paranoia and prophecy is paper thin, Judge Peter, especially when the government redacts everything but the title. I know you're saying, oh, well, the CIA isn't here in America. Look, I've just got an accent because of you.
I heard it. And if you want to mock this judge in this court, I can tell you right now, Miss Beck, that will not benefit you in the least.
Judge Peter, I love your optimism, but the CIA was a Boy Scout, and MKUltra was its badge in psychological mayhem, earned right here at home.
Again, the official stance of the United States government, which this court is happy to be a part of, is that the FBI handles internal matters within the country and the CIA handles matters outside of the country. Anything you say that speaks to the CIA running operations on American soil, this court is ready to dismiss.
It did happen on U.S. soil.
That is conspiracy.
Experiments took
proof.
place in New York, San Francisco, Montreal, Canada, and dozens of U.S. hospitals, prisons, and universities.
Because, Miss Beck, just because you read a Wikipedia article and read the testimony of dozens of United States of America citizens that were brutalized by these projects, the position of this court is that it did not happen.
Your Honor, the CIA set up safe houses in San Francisco and New York. They hired prostitutes to lure men, dosed them with LSD without consent, and watched behind one-way mirrors. Not exactly a foreign affair unless the foreigner was on acid.
Again, Miss Beck, whether or not this totally did happen, the position of this court is that the CIA only does operations outside of the jurisdiction of this their country.
Then please tell me why in 1977 Senator Ted Kennedy said the deputy director of the CIA revealed that over 30 universities and institutions were involved in extensive testing and experimentation program on unwitting U.S. citizens, quote unquote.
Because Ted Kennedy had just gotten drunk, murdered somebody, and wanted to shift the blame. I don't know if that's actually true. If the years make sense, but I know he did it, and because he's a Kennedy, he got away with it because he's a filthy Democrat. But what I'm saying is that this United States of America court follows the Constitution. And again, for the third time, the FBI handles things on the United States soil. The CIA has no jurisdiction to complete operations here.
Your
They
Honor?
complete operations abroad.
If the CIA never operated on U.S. soil, then who was handing out LSD-laced cocktails in San Francisco brothels like rave flyers at a Grateful Dead show? And more importantly, why did the government have to form a Senate committee to stop it?
My paycheck is signed by the federal government.
Your Honor, I think you might be controlled opposition.
The word you're looking for is bought. And whether or not that's true, this court finds your allegations in contempt and finds for the defendant, which is the United States government. You are wrong, Miss Beck, regardless of the mounting evidence that you have.
Drop.
This court is dismissed.
Before we adjourn, Judge Peter, you've survived the weird. Now it's time to face the rapid fire. No overthinking, just guts. What's one conspiracy theory you secretly think might be true?
Oh, none of this is real. This is all just a simulation.
Flat Earth in 5 words or less.
There's a lot of dumb people. I know that's 5 words, but the goddamn Earth is round. Y'all flat earthers are dumb.
Do you trust Google Maps?
100%.
If time travel was real, what's the first event you'd go mess with?
I feel like I'd want to kill Hitler, but then Deadpool did that, and it was f***ed up having him kill a baby.
How many pigeons are too many pigeons?
Beck, can I tell you, I live in the suburbs, and there's pigeons on my roof, and I just bought a nabbit new roof. So any pigeons on my roof in suburbia, kinda, are too many daggone pigeons.
Would you rather be abducted by aliens or stuck in Denver airport overnight?
It depends if I'm the type that the aliens would want to abduct, and if they're traditional aliens.
If you woke up in 1969 tomorrow, would you believe the moon landing is real?
The moon landing is real, the Russians are bad, and I would have a lot of the same thoughts that people in 1969 had that I don't agree with today in 2025.
You passed, barely.
Thank goodness.
That's a wrap on Conspiracy Court. Huge thanks to our skeptical but shockingly fair Judge Peter, and, of course, my partner in theory, Rachel. To our listeners, what did you think? Are birds secretly drones? Did Paul croon his last in 1966? And more importantly, which side are you on? Hit us up on social media with your verdicts, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us if you enjoyed this wild ride. I know we did. Until next time, question everything, and don't trust the pigeons. This is To the Spirit, signing off.
To the Spirit
Podcast.
Supernatural science.
Aliens. Ghost.
Psychic.
Mystic
Spirits.
Divine Source
Heaven.
It's magic.